It's the BIS podcast. Much like a good combiner model, we're going to be taking aspects of the Bionicle Inspiration series and throwing it in with a few other things to make one big old beautiful show. So that's right, where the Axon, Brutaka, and Vizon coming together to make a big old Cardiff dragon. But I can't do that without a special guest today, so who is that going to be? Well, for a show like this, I'm going to need someone who has some pretty impressive stuff. Is he the captain of the Millennium Falcon? Can he get me passage to the Alderaan system? I don't know if he can do that, but he did make the Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs, and he has outrun Imperial starships. And I'm not talking about those local bulk cruisers, mind you. I'm talking about the big Corellian ships now. He's built some incredible stuff. He's been on the show before, and he's made some pretty awesome episodes that he's been in as well. And man, he's a dang fine builder. It's my boy, the Han Solo to my Luke Skywalker. It's Shadowgear6335. Hi, how you doing?
Hello, friend.
Hello.
Yeah, that was, you said you had a paragraph prepared, and I did not expect something so elaborate.
I like to go ham now.
Well,
I've been hoping to like spice up the podcast a little bit, add some more segments and things like that, and so there you go. I don't have a cool outro plan.
You can have too much ham in a sandwich, but there's never enough cheese.
Ooh, I like it. But you're the cheese in this podcast, Brendan.
Hell yeah, baby.
Yeah. I don't know if that's a compliment or not, but you can take it.
I thought there'd be a funny play on words, but you can take that however you will.
That's right. Well, I'm going to move straight on into the first of a couple new segments in the podcast, which is called Lego and Life Adventures. So basically, we're just going to talk about any adventures that we've had in our life, whether they're Lego related or not, just what we've been getting up to. And, you know, I'm curious how you are doing, good sir, good Brendan. What Lego and Life Adventures have you been up to?
Oh, God. Let me think. Lego in particular. Okay, for those who don't know, I'm going to time this podcast. I've been gone for a bit. I'm back now trying to do more stuff. I basically moved out around last year. I've now moved in with a other friend of the show, Elira. And we've combined our Lego collection.
Yes, how is that?
So, let's talk. So, when we started doing it, I basically took control of it. I'm like, I'm going to do this. Like, I'm going to sort it the way I've always sorted it. And my major flaw that I've discovered is that I sorted it based on my old preferences of sorting, which was basically you have a lot of small space, try and condense everything together. But I have, so it's like, oh, I'm going to put all these T-bars in the same thing. I'm going to put all of these like Technic connector bits in the same thing. And it's like, no. You have way too many of these now, and you need to sort them out not only by type, but kind of by color now. And it's like, oh,
wow,
great. And so at some point, Molly was she was sorting all the stuff, and she goes, "Why did you sort it like this? Why did you no?" And she just took control of it from there, and I just she just points and I go at this point.
Yeah. How has it been basically inheriting another collection essentially?
It's been overwhelming in terms of just like there's so much I have to work with. It's also because probably at least a third of the collection is sorted and thrown into like pull-out drawers. The rest is like behind the display in these giant tote bins that are still completely unsorted.
Yeah.
And it's basically I've not only inherited half a sorted collection, I inherited half of a unsorted collection. And it's even more frustrating because I don't know what it is because it's not mine.
Yes.
But it's been nice because it's like, oh, I feel like I have double the pieces now to work with, and we've been working off each other's pieces. Or if it's like, hey, if we need to do a Bricklink order, we can just combine it and just be like, hey, I found this store I wanted to order some pieces from. You take a look at it first before you buy it in case there's anything you want. And that's been really nice too.
Living the dream.
Living the dream. But it's been nice. Yeah. It's been a lot of fun. A lot of fun colors, a lot of good times. Sorted every stud by color.
Oh, nice.
Still very low on monogreen studs.
Now, because before we recorded this podcast, I was sorting, and I picked one of those up, and I remembered, because back in like, I think, whatever year the modular pet shop came out, before that, green studs only came in, like, a promotional set from Legoland, and you had to be, like, an employee to get it or something. And like a couple other things. And then that pet shop set came out, and it came with some of the green studs. And I remember it being one of those things that I'm like, I'm sure I have green studs, sure. And I'm like, oh, it turns out they're very rare. And then they came out in Pet Shop, and I'm like, oh, baby, it's amazing. Then they're here. But nowadays, they're really common, and they appear in heaps of stuff. But, yeah, it's so weird, because you're like, it's a green stud. Surely that's, like, one of the most common things ever. But no, like, it's surprisingly rare.
Yeah, you would think.
Yeah. That's certainly a cool thing, though, with sorting, is realizing, like, oh, wow, I actually have that, or I have heaps of those. And especially when you do a Bricklink order, and you're like, yeah, I need heaps more of these. And then you start sorting, and you're like, well, no, I didn't.
Yeah.
There's once but that's in a while, awesome, man.
Yeah. Once in a while, you get a piece that's like, oh, I know I definitely don't. I don't have this. There's no way I have this. And then it comes in the mail, and then Molly's just like, oh, I have that already. It's like, what? Where? It's like, it's over here. Like, oh, well, now we got a spare. Great.
Yeah. I guess you got to get used to your pieces again now as well.
Yeah, we had a big push to sort for like the good half of the year, and I think it was me that broke the chain. And I'm just like, I just want to do some building. And then once I started doing, she's like, well, if you're gonna do it, I'm gonna do it. So we just stopped sorting for a while.
Yeah, I don't know. I find that too. I just I'm kind of the same. I've had a pretty good chain this year of sorting, but there's a point where it just gets excruciating, and especially too, I know a bunch of people that are like, no, I'll build something once I've sorted, and that's like a bold statement, because it's a long process. You're just not going to get there. But anything else you've been getting up to in your life adventures, good sir?
I think I've discovered I'm still bad at working out characters, and I'll explain to you why. Okay. A buddy of mine, Lodestar, has been visiting our home lately, and we've been playing a lot of Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, boy.
I'm bad at it. It's okay. So basically, I had one run. We did a test run. We went somewhere, and he's like, "Okay, here's some characters I made for you guys. Like, just work with this." And I basically was a orc priest.
Oh,
not priest. Was I priest? It was a priest. It was
some
kind. It was not a monk. I forget. He'll correct me on this. Basically, we went into a cave full of goblins, and I basically used a dead corpse of a goblin, Molly and I both, to instill the fear of God into these goblins and convince them to just, like, destroy themselves, and just, I got the loot inside the cave.
Yeah.
And apparently that was a legendary moment.
Nice.
But from there on out, it's been a lot of me being put in particular RP situations, and I'm just terrible at it. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. We do. There's a new campaign though where we're using existing characters. That is pretty solid.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Well, in terms of my life adventures, I've also been playing a lot of D&D. My friends and I meet up every Saturday, and we do that. I think we're like. Yesterday was our last session. I think we're 42 sessions in now, which is good fun. Wow. Yeah. No, I've been thoroughly enjoying D&D. I do find though, especially because even just the people we're playing with, there's it's kind of the same with building, I guess. Like, everyone has different styles of what they excel at, you know. And our group is very filled with a lot of actors, so we're very role play heavy. But there's one person in our team who's very combat focused, and often they're like, you know, I'm here for like the big fights, and like that's. Like, when the next big fight happens, like, let me know, because I'm super excited, you know. So it could just be the case that you're just a more combat-focused player and less role-play. But, I mean, in terms of making characters, like, one thing that helps for me, it's kind of the same with Bionicles and stuff, is it's just looking up a lot of, like, pictures that can inform concepts, or basing it off, like, anime or video games and stuff, and like, not even necessarily, like, stealing character concepts, but, like, adapting it and stuff.
Right.
I don't know, I find that helps me, at least. But I can completely understand how roleplay can be, like, not intimidating or scary, but that. Yeah, no, it's not exactly an easy thing to do, but it definitely helps when you have a good DM who's going to help you to ease into it, I guess.
Oh, for sure.
And I'm sure Mr. Lodestar's a good DM. He is DMing it?
He is in fact DMing.
Awesome.
He is a fantastic DM. He brings like so many bags and totes of just minis and just a laptop just for D&D. It's a fun time. Also, I think I am more of a battle heavy guy now that you bring it up.
Yeah, cool. And there's nothing wrong with that, of course. Yeah.
No.
That's awesome. Awesome, man. Other life adventures. I was at Brickvention less than a week ago now, or exactly a week ago. I don't remember.
How'd that go?
Good fun. I hung out with Anthony Wilson and Jack Frost They're two awesome Bionicle builders.
Mm-hmm.
We also, I got to display my mock. I'm going to have pictures and a video and all that of that out pretty soon. I've just got to rebuild it and take better pictures of it. There were a lot of talks this year, and the talks were really good. There was a talk from New Elementary, that really awesome Lego website. Basically what happened is they poured out like a bunch of pieces, and then he came in with like little bags of new parts. So one of them was, there's a Frozen set that's come out that has these like ring pieces, like they're literal human rings. And there's like a stud connection on the top, and so you can make like your own jewelry. So you had like those to play with, the new like bicycle mold, Bo Peep's like shepherd staff from the Toy Story sets, and a few other things. And it was basically like an hour of just like play with these pieces and just see what awesome like nice part usages you can come up with. It was really fun, and it was cool because it was challenging, but he made everyone feel really comfortable, because it's like, I know that in your normal collection you're used to having like everything, but like now you're more limited with just the pieces that are in front of you. So like, talk to the people next to you and just use what you've got and work in this more limited space and see what can come of it, and like, don't overthink it and just have fun. And it was a really fun, like positive space, and it was cool seeing, because there was probably about 20 people, and they all came up with really cool stuff, and it's like, oh, I've learned some cool things. Yeah. And then there was another talk, which I think will be one you would have enjoyed. The talk was called like the Lego Multiverse, something like that. Basically it was about this guy's kind of theory that all of the Lego stories, like the original Lego IP stuff, is connected to everything else. So it's kind of like the Marvel Cinematic Universe in that sense. Oh, so like stuff like Ninjago City, how it has like references to Galador in it and stuff like that. It's the idea that those other worlds exist in the same place, but sometimes it could be a thing of like, yes, it's you go through a portal, it's in another dimension, but these stories do interact. And it was a lot of like deep diving into like articles on Lego.com, or the little bits of backstory that come on like collectible minifigures and weird obscure magazines where there were the Fright Knights next to the Lion Knights and stuff, and it's like, well, these two areas of the castle world clearly do interact, because you see this same logo on like a poster in the background or something, or it being like there's a Galador sticker that comes in this set, and clearly then they know of each other, or how like classic space logos appear on like town shirts, like little like towny minifigure like Lego City sets, and like even really obscure stuff, like one of the older Scala sets came with a CD for the Lego Island video game. So it's like, well, then those worlds to some degree are interacting, and just like focusing in all of those little cameos and Easter eggs, and like thinking about how those worlds could or would interact, whether it is just like, oh, this video game exists in the Lego world, or just, I don't know, it was fun. Like, and it's that thing, at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, it's just Lego designers having fun and just putting in cameos, but it was fun to just be like, yeah, it is a connected universe, you're right, and it was cool. It was really, really fun.
What was it, the last time you and I talked, was there a minifigure couple that was like in an old city set, and then...
Yeah, the guy who spoke to me about that, he did a talk on that. It was at the same time as the New Elementary talk, so I missed it, unfortunately. But
okay.
He's written up an article for it online. I'll post it in the description below. I still haven't read it yet, but I was speaking to him about it, and it's really, really cool. Yeah, so it's awesome, because especially that, a lot of Lego designers who are like AFOLs are getting jobs and being like, yeah, I grew up with Bionicle, so I'm going to put in a Bionicle reference in this hidden side set, stuff like that.
Yeah,
that's cool. Yeah. But yeah, that's about it for Lego Life Adventures, at least. I think now let's move on, especially because it's talking about new pieces and New Elementary and stuff. Move on to the next section, which is just some Lego news. We've both gathered a Lego article of some kind about things we want to discuss. So I guess we'll start with yours then, Brendan. So we wanted to talk about some new Lego pieces here.
Well, Ben came to me, is like, you gotta find an article, gotta find some news to talk about, and I'm like, I don't know what to talk about. Scrolling through Brickset, and I'm like, oh, here's a catalog of all the new pieces for the Winter 2020 sets, and I'm like, oh, gotta look at this. This year in particular, there are some insane recolors that I was not expecting to see.
Yeah.
First of which, I don't know how to describe this. How does the internet describe it? It is a 2M frick snap with cross hole.
Ah, a classic.
It's a very familiar Technic piece for those who are familiar with Technic, and it's come out in gold and silver now.
Oh. Which one's that?
That's the... Okay, so it's my classic way of describing it. It is a 3-long pin that has an axle hole at the end as opposed to another pin.
Oh, okay, yes.
So it's like a bushing and then two things.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
In gold and silver. Interesting.
Do you know where those come in?
I'm sure Brickset tells us, but...
They do. It
what?
comes with those new storybook Disney princess sets.
Are those the ones with the cute little, like, mini Friends dolls in them?
Yeah.
Those things are amazing.
I've seen enough of those to where I'm like, I need to buy one of these. This looks amazing.
Yeah. Because it's weird. It's almost like one, they're just super adorable, but two, it's kind of essentially like when minifigures got like short legs, and now like Friends dolls is like, oh, here's like the little version of a Friends figure. And honestly, I think I like these little weird Friends little mini dolls more than the original mini dolls, to be honest.
I'm with you. The only thing that stinks is like the hands can only hold like small accessories. It can't hold like a traditional lightsaber rod.
Oh, I see. So it's like the like how Friends dolls' hairs have the little mini pin that you put like the accessories and stuff in. So those can just go in the hands, is it?
Yep. But they still use the mini doll heads, meaning regular minifigure hair can still go onto that. That's a cool touch.
Oh, that's cool. Okay. Yeah. Man, I remember when Friends started to come out and everyone was kind of like, oh, there's this new mini doll. Like, how do we use this? I remember heaps of people were like painting them and like customizing them. And like, I remember at Brickvention, someone gave like a whole bunch of Friends figures, like Mandalorian armor and stuff. And
oh, cool.
It's interesting. People don't play with those Friends figures anymore well, that's not entirely true. I'm sure people do. But like when they first came out, I saw so many people experimenting with them. So I don't know. It's exciting knowing we're getting a new variant of them that hopefully people are playing with again.
Yeah, man. What else is in this list? You pick a piece from this list.
Well, one thing that I saw as a recolor, a lot of them come in the Harry Potter sets. There's those new candle pieces.
Yeah.
And originally they were just in white, but now they're in a whole bunch of colors. Like here there's one in blue, and they're in a few other colors as well. And it's such a weird piece because it is that lightsaber rod connection at the bottom, and you can stack those candles on top of each other. Like the fact they're coming in new colors now is really inspiring me to use it, because it's like this is something that isn't just a candle. You could use it as like a pillar or like, I don't know, a hilt on a sword or something. Yeah, it's a cool piece.
I think one of the new troll sets uses those pieces as like legs.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Speaking about trolls, I had a conversation with a friend where the elves theme. I don't know about you, but I feel like the elves theme just snuck up on me. Like it wasn't until like a couple waves into it that I was like, why have I not been looking at these? They have amazing colors in them and really good pieces, and they're like very helpful for Bionicle mocks as well. And then Elves got discontinued, and it's like, man, I feel like I slept on that theme. It was such a good theme.
Oh,
and now
yeah.
Trolls is coming out, and a lot of people are like, this is such a weird and goofy, dumb theme. But honestly, man, I'm looking at it, and I'm like, look at these crazy colors and these weird, like, almost like cardboard cutout, like, wing pieces and things. Like, there's really cool stuff in them.
There's some... I've actually done a deep dive on those troll sets. I haven't bought any because I can't afford it right now. But the thing is, like, first of all, Elves was amazing when the first wave alone was like amazing, and this is like a nice spiritual successor. And these, like, there's felt pieces in these sets, but like it's thick felt, and it works, I guess. The recolors are insane. The new music note pieces look really cool.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. No, there's just some insane stuff in them. I'm like, I saw oh gosh, I can't remember who, but I've seen Bionicle builders being like, oh god, I can't wait to buy these and play with them. And they haven't come to Australia yet, but I'm keen to get some.
Did you see those new in those sets, those pods, like those two clamshell pieces that like stick together?
I believe so. Yes. Yeah.
Do you know the piece that holds those together?
No.
If you look through this list, you'll eventually see it. But it is a 3-long pin with a leaf at the end, and like neat and like lime green.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, I'm enjoying the little moments when Lego gives us like very focused like CCBS stuff, like when a Ninjago set or something, or like an Avengers set comes with like Hero Factory bones and shells and stuff. So I like that we can use that. That's cool.
Here's a question for you. Because I've been staring at this and I can't, for the life of me, figure this out. Is medium stone gray a new color?
It could be that, because you're looking on Brickset for that, yes?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, I know that Lego uses different names to what Bricklink does. So it could just be that medium stone grey is just dark bluish grey. Because I was doing lug bulk stuff for secret lug bulk things that I was doing lug bulk with my lug, and I was going through, and the kind of parts list that's out for it was saying like this piece in this color, and I'm like, that doesn't look like it's like there would be weird stuff where they would call like typical mutter green like dark green or something, and I'm like, but that's not dark green, what are you talking about? And it's, I don't know, Lego has a weird way of referring to colors that is different to that, so it could be that, unless I'm entirely wrong and there is a new variant on
well, here's the thing. Okay,
gray.
so there are some common Technic elements that are recolored into this apparently dark, like light stone gray, whatever. And then if you look at this page I sent, which I'm sure Ben will link in the description,
yes,
there is a newer style hand connector in here, and the color,
I saw that.
The color is labeled dark stone gray, which is different from the one I just mentioned, and it's in like some kind of Ninjago set. And for the life of me, I can't tell. It doesn't look like a new mold.
Yeah,
I can't tell.
interesting. Or is Darkstone Grey gunmetal?
Oh no, that can't be right. Hold on,
I'm gonna do some investigating here.
I'm gonna click on Darkstone Gray and see what other colors come up. No, it looks like a dark gray.
Yeah, it does look like dark bluish grey.
Huh.
So is that just an error on Brickset?
I don't...
Uncovering truths here. Yeah. That's interesting.
No, wait, hold on. If you look... so this is very in the weeds for this podcast, by the way. So if you click on that color, it brings up a catalog of every piece in that color, and there are two separate listings for that hand connector. Like, there's one, which this hand connector's been in 24 sets, and then there's the other one, different parts number, and it's only in one set, and it's in that new Ninjago set.
Okay. Well, maybe they've remolded the hand connector then.
I mean, cool.
Yeah.
Great.
I have no idea how it's changed, but now I kind of want to buy that set and figure it out.
I don't know. It's some weird stuff. There are some insane recolors. What are your thoughts on those new sword pieces that are in those video game Ninjago sets?
I was going to tell you about those. That's the coolest thing ever.
I know. They look so good.
Because it's like a video game controller piece, which already works really nicely on its own, but then it's the hilt of a sword and you can attach things into it. That's so clever. That entire wave of Ninjago is genius.
I'm very interested in picking some up. They look fantastic.
Like I've seen... I want to say it was Moko, but somebody made because there's kind of the cheaper Ninjago sets that are like the arcade machine, and the packaging is that big arcade machine piece.
Oh yeah.
Those look awesome, and yeah, like Moko was making these like goofy like sentient arcade machines with like smiley faces and stuff on them, and it was awesome. Yeah, no, I'm keen to pick some up, especially like those minifigures that have like health bars on top of them and stuff. Like, yeah, it's cool.
It's really cool. I'm looking, again, bringing up these troll sets again. I'm looking through this list. They're recoloring all the new lightning effect pieces that have that a minifigure can just hold. Oh,
like Emperor Palpatine, like actual like lightning pieces?
No, not like the newer style, not the older style. Not the dual molded one, just like the single colored one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it looks like they've recolored a ton of those. Like it comes out in gold, orange. There's a purple variant. There's a pink variant. Oh. A red variant.
Which sets do those? They come in the troll sets? Did you say?
The troll set. I think they like the gimmick with those is like they're like the guitar strings of music, and so they're represented by a color for each.
Oh, those ones. I know the ones you mean now. Yes, like the new DC collectible minifigure sets. The Flash has them as like speed lines behind him.
Yeah. Oh God.
Yes.
Speaking of that, I don't care too much for those minifigures, but that new clear piece for those minifigures for them to like pose with looks amazing.
It is. Yeah, I remember. I think it was New Elementary. They posted on their website that they came with those, and I remember being like, "Oh, they don't. Like Lego wouldn't put that in there. Like, why? They've already got a stand." And then seeing other people posting it, be like, "Oh no, that's real." And yeah, it's this beautiful angle to it, and like I've bought the full wave of those minifigures, and like posing them like that, it's cool because some of them are like jumping in the air or like getting ready to punch or something, and yeah, you can make like a perfect circle with them and stuff, and yeah, it's a really cool piece.
Yeah, there's some insane, like, take the time if you are a piece nut like me, not just minifigure but just piece nut, just look at this stuff. I'm gonna put out a call out and a complaint real quick. I've been seeing a lot of fabulous pieces in the Lego pick-a-brick wall.
Yes.
which have not been updated in my area, and it's been a good 3 months. Like there's some teal and dark red brick and like a bunch of good stuff floating around. So if you were in America, if you were in the New England area, and you happen to know for a fact there is some good old pieces in Pick-a-Brick, let me know so I can take a drive, because I'm dying for it.
Yeah.
Oh, God,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, don't be, because, man, there's some awesome pieces here, and I'm more than happy to discuss them.
There's the stud blaster that has a mixel joint at the back of it.
Oh, really? Cool.
What? It's like a female end mixel joint, and where the stud would be, and then there's just the stud launcher.
Nice. Okay.
This is some weird it's in it's in that Black Panther Thor set with like the bike and the dude and the. Oh, okay.
Oh, yes. Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
What?
I'm so glad they're still making mixel joints, man. Those are just good
Me too.
pieces. I have a question, because some of these pieces are popping up. The pieces are being the minifigure parts that come on the Mandalorians from the Mandalorian Battle Pack.
Yes.
Have you seen any Mandalorian Battle Packs at your local areas?
You know what? I haven't been looking too hard, but I don't recall seeing any.
Right. Because they've been pretty good at the stores that I've been at, and I have seen a fair few, but I was speaking to the... Because at Brickvention, they have a minifigure, like, trading wall. Basically, there was about 4,000 minifigures on a wall, and you bring, like, your own minifigures, and you can swap whichever ones you want. And it's a great way to get some really good minifigures and trade in your bad ones for good ones. Mm-hmm. I was speaking to the people running it, worked for the Legoland Discovery Centre in Melbourne, and I was speaking to them, and I'm like, hey, how are your Mandalorian battle packs selling? Because I've heard they've been selling really well. And he said the very first day they came in, he got a very small shipment, maybe like just one sort of box of them, and they didn't even end up putting it on the shelf because every member in the store who worked there wanted to buy one. Then, like, the next week later, they got another, like, massive shipment of them. And literally they put it on the shelf, and then within, like, the 24 hours of them being up, all of them sold out. And they have still not got to the point where they don't need another shipment, like, the next day for putting them up. Like, it's barely been out, like, a couple... Like, I'm pretty sure it only came out maybe the start of this month, maybe a little less, and they are just constantly selling out. Like, it's insane how well they're doing.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I have watched maybe 3 episodes of The Mandalorian, and I like it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you don't like it?
I do like it.
Oh, okay, cool.
Okay.
I mean, hell, you're allowed to not like it if you don't, but...
with that tone of voice, I would think otherwise. Just like, oh, you don't like it, oh!
I was just surprised, because I'm yet to hear anyone say that they haven't enjoyed it. But, no, you were allowed to, good sir.
Oh. Any other pieces? I know we're running a bit long on this piece situation.
No, that's okay. One piece that stuck out for me, a bunch of them are sort of popping up, is a lot of the, like, banners and printed tiles that come in the new, like, Chinese New Year sets.
Oh my god, those sets look so good!
They're beautiful. I, at Brickvention, bought the largest one. I split it 3 ways with Anthony and Jack. And there's so many beautiful pieces in it, and an insanely nice amount of the printed tiles. It's really, really cool. I think on, like, Boxing Day sales, those came out, and it was like buy one get the other 50% off and stuff. And I remember, like, looking at them for so long and being like, should I do it? They look so good. And I was like, no, that's a lot of money. And but they're like, I highly recommend those sets, because a lot of those printed tiles, like, I'm already thinking about putting one in a Bionicle, and if not, I'll put it in a system mock. But man, they're beautiful pieces.
I have my eyes on them.
Yeah. I guess the final piece I want to talk about is a more obscure one, but it's the teal chameleon piece that comes in the new modular building set. That chameleon piece is one of the coolest freaking pieces. Might actually be one of my favorites this year. I don't know if you picked up the Johnny Thunder minifigure in the collectible minifigure series, The Last Wave. He had, like,
no, but I know the
one.
piece you're talking about.
Yeah. Like, 1, great to see some more Johnny Thunder love. But 2, yeah, that chameleon is just a great piece.
They've been, like, knocking it out of the park with animals lately, I feel like.
Yeah, like, there was a bulldog on the new parts list here on Brickset as well, which comes in a couple city sets. And it looks really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Look, we could keep talking about new pieces, but then we'd need a whole nother podcast. And heck, maybe we will do a whole nother podcast on new pieces. But in the meantime, we'll move over to my news article. So my news article, I mean, it was on a whole bunch of other websites, but I'm specifically reading it from the Brothers Brick. So Lego is giving us the opportunity to vote for the next Ultimate Collector's Series UCS Lego Star Wars set. So if you don't know what a UCS set is, it's the big ones, like the big Millennium Falcon or the big Super Star Destroyer or the big Star Destroyer or whatever. They're very like heavily detailed sets, typically Star Wars. There's some Marvel ones and DC ones as well. And yeah, we get to vote between 3 Star Wars ships. So one is the Nebulon B escort frigate from Empire Strikes Back, and Rebels and a few other TV shows, the TIE bomber, and the Republic gunship. So Brendan, which one? Oh, and of course you get to vote for them as well. And whichever one gets the most votes by, I think it's January the 30th, will be the next set. So which one are you voting for, and why is it the Republic gunship?
What if I have the right to not vote?
You do, sir. You're more than allowed to.
What if I don't want to vote?
You don't have to.
Well, that was very, very kind of you.
I tell you what, though, I've seen so many little fights and things online about this, like people just full on insulting someone if they're voting for the wrong one, which not okay. If anyone's doing that, rethink your actions.
I will say, if I had to choose one of these, I would say the gunship.
Okay.
I want to see some prequel love.
Yes. See, that's the reason that I have already voted for the Republic gunship, is because we don't get nearly enough prequel love these days, and next season of the Clone Wars is about to come out. It's just a nice time, and it probably is one of, if not my favorite Star Wars ship, the Republic gunship. So I would want to vote for that. But I get the argument for voting for the medical frigate, the Nebulon B frigate, because we've never had that as a set ever in any form, whereas we've had a couple Republic gunships. So I get that argument too. And it's a beautiful ship, like I'd love that. The TIE Bomber has appeared as a set before, and we've already got a bunch of different UCS TIE Fighters in other variants and things. So I can kind of see that that's sort of the less desirable option. But, you know, if you're going to vote for that, I don't want to sit here and be like, well, you're wrong, because you're allowed to. But, yeah, it's nice to hear that someone else is looking for some prequel love.
I would assume that, like, they designed these sets enough to where it's like, hey, we have a general idea as to how we're going to build these. Just choose one and we'll go with the green light on one of these. You would assume they'd just make the others at some point too, wouldn't they?
I imagine so. There was 1 year, because they've done stuff like this before. There was 1 year with a city set where you voted for between 3 options. One was like a monorail thing. One was like a town square, and the other one I don't remember. And the monorail one won, because everyone was like, cool, we're going to get a new like monorail system. Like they'll design new tracks and stuff. But at the end of the day, they just made like a monorail that didn't have a track, and it was just like you just put it on your road or something, and people were upset. And then they did one with a Star Wars one where you picked between 3 sets. One was Palpatine's arrest from Episode 3. One was a landing platform for the Slave One on Cloud City, and the other one was Home One, I think it was. The Mon Calamari ship from Return of the Jedi. And I think Home One won, so we got that as a set. And then, like, a couple years later, we got Palpatine's Arrest as a set. And pretty much nowadays, you know, we've got that big Cloud City set, which has a landing platform for the Slave One. So, to some degree, yeah, we did get all of those. So, I kind of don't disagree with you. I'm sure that in some form we will in the future. And
yeah.
it also depends when they're going to announce the winner, because it could even be the case of like, cool, we designed 3 UCS sets, but we don't know which one to pick. We'll let the public do it. And so it's like, we have the other 2 in the bank, and we'll just release them later or something. But yeah, who knows?
Also, the gunship, I think, is just a more interesting design.
Oh yeah, okay.
Here's my question: UCS is not minifigure scale, is it?
No, it depends. Some of them are, and some of them aren't. Like the Falcon and stuff, you can fit minifigures in, but I think if you were to do the maths, it's like a tiny bit bigger than the set is. But it varies depending on the model and stuff. That being said, in the past you used to never get minifigures with them, and nowadays they include a couple or a few. And when you vote, actually, it has the option of, you answer 2 questions. One of them is like, why are you voting for this? And the other one is, what minifigures do you want to see in the set? So they're at least thinking about putting minifigures in them, which nowadays pretty much every UCS set comes with at least 1 or 2 minifigures.
Well, I was thinking like the gunship has like those 2 little like pods on the side, right, where you just put little dudes in there.
Yeah, exactly that.
What minifigures would you want to go with this?
When I voted for it, I said that I wanted this because of, like I said, just it's always nice to have some prequel love, and because Clone Wars is coming back. I wouldn't be surprised if this would be a Republic gunship from like episode 2, but I was saying in my comments, I'm like, I'd love it if this was one more inspired by the Clone Wars with, you know, different colors or different art on the side and stuff like you see in the episodes. And I was hoping for like Fives and Echo and a bunch of other like clone troopers from the Clone Wars that we've always wanted as minifigures. But I'd also be totally content if they gave us like a, you know, Anakin, Padme, and Obi-Wan from episode 2 or something like that, which we have more or less got those figures before. I wouldn't be opposed to them updating that. But honestly, even if it was just like a couple random clone troopers and they just have a bit more printing on them, you know, in a similar vein to how the Star Destroyers ones have a bit more printing on them, that I'd be okay with. What minifigures would you want to see?
I don't know. Like, I'm thinking, like, this would be a good opportunity to make, like, redo another, like, prequel Jedi, but I don't know who's due for it.
Well, there's, the very first Republic gunship set they released, you got literally just a random Jedi in it, and the community eventually dubbed him Jedi Bob, and there's even an official Lego book that they released where they state that, like, yes, this minifigure's name is Jedi Bob. So a lot of people are also saying, like, if the Republic gunship wins, they better put Jedi Bob back in. So maybe we'll see the return of Jedi Bob.
Can you describe to me Jedi Bob?
So he had grey robes, a brown cape, and his face was... It was literally a face you got in, like, a construction worker in a city set. He had, like, a beard, like a full kind of... like a pretty hearty beard, and he had this very sort of like cheeky like grin to him. Maybe I'll I'll probably throw in a picture in the video. I'll send you a picture of him now as well.
It sounds like you're straight up just describing Episode 8 Skywalker.
It's not far off, actually. But this was also back in the days when they hadn't transitioned over to like fleshy Jedi, so he's still the like yellow skinned Jedi man here. Hold on. I closed Discord on my other computer. Let me get it up. Get it for you in a minute here. But yeah. So you're gonna hold your vote? You think?
I mean, I could vote. I guess. Well, now my arm's twisted. Now I gotta do it.
No, you don't. You don't have to vote. But I guess the other logic is like I'm probably gonna pick up the set if it isn't the TIE Bomber. I will pick up one of the other two if they win. I'm really not that interested in the TIE Bomber UCS set personally. So I guess that's why I'm voting, because I would actually be keen to buy these sets.
See, here's the thing. If you're already collecting all the other TIE fighters, like the Bomber is a must. You already have to complete the set. It's like buying Masterpiece Transformers. You buy Prime and Megatron, you got to get the rest of the team.
Yeah, exactly that. I just sent you the picture of Jedi Bob as well.
Is this Jedi Bob? I've seen Jedi Bob before.
There you go.
Oh god, that'd be really funny if they remade him into like a modern minifigure. That'd be...
Yeah, I would be more than okay with that. That'd be great. But yeah, there you go.
Cool.
So any other final thoughts on that, or shall we move on to the main topic?
No, I'm all set.
Nice. So this next section of the podcast is just dedicated to whatever the main topic is. So in future, it could be the case of like, oh, we're not going to talk about mocks. We're going to talk about, like we were saying before, new pieces or something like that. But of course, because this is the Biz podcast, we're going to be talking about 3 mocks. So I got Brendan to choose a mock that he made, a mock that someone else made that he liked, and then I also picked a mock that I enjoyed as well. So we'll talk about those ones now in typical Biz style. Which one do you want to start with first, good sir? Do you have any preference?
I will go with the one I built first.
Let's do it. So this is Betty Beatdown by Shadowgear6335. What do you want to say about it, good sir?
I don't know. I built it.
On to the next one.
Also, I want to say thank you for putting this in a proper Biss episode. I had watched it. Was that yesterday? It was yesterday morning or this morning. I forget which.
Yeah, well, I only posted it, I think. Yeah, I only posted it Saturday, so it probably would have been quite recently. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, nice. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was very good.
Thank you.
So this mock, literally the inspiration was I went to a flea market and I found an old Technic competition set, like a near mint in box. Like it was like unopened bags. The box is a bit worn, but like, oh fuck, I'm
I don't mind. That's okay.
I cursed on your show. I was so good up until now. So I built it. Super fun. And I'm like, oh, I want to build a mock with this. And so I designed the lower section first, which you described in the Biz episode. It's like, oh, the legs fold out, and they form these weird spider leg looking things, which were meant to be like just arms as opposed to legs, but you can use them as. So the idea. Okay, quick background on this character. She is a combat specialist designed to be that, but it has retrofitted her body to be a boxer.
Oh, sick. So
the arms on below are meant to be like, because they have the little rubber tires, they're meant to be like mitts that you could punch to like take the impact.
Yes.
Stuff like that. I don't know.
Cool.
The idea is I want to make a bunch of arms that transform into this little thing. And so I did that, and then I sat on that whip for a good year and a half. And then this year, I'm like, I'm going to finally work on this. Because what inspired me? Some kind of game or show. I forget what it was, but I had the idea for the arms. And I'm like, I want to give her a bunch of crazy arms with a wire in the tube, because I like doing that now too.
Yes. Yeah, really clever to do that.
It's not purist, but
I'm gonna have to kill you now.
Oh well, goodbye. Nice knowing you. But then the idea of like, I want to take a hand that splits into 3 separate things and turn the claws, and that was like an afternoon turnaround of like, I want to do this, and then came up with a design, put it together immediately, and I'm like, oh, this works. Oh, this works exceptionally well. Okay, yeah, I'm going to go with this. So.
Awesome, man. That's really cool. Because it was that too, like when I was looking at this, I was like, classic Brendan using teal and purple, because you've always loved using those colors. So yeah, I didn't even realize that you'd bought like a mint inbox contest champions, my name's escaping me, that set for it. That would have been that's really exciting and surprisingly motivating too. Like I've done that. I've found like at Brickvention, I didn't end up getting it because it was in a Dirty Brickster competition, so it got not literally stolen off of me, but in the game stolen off of me. But somebody had a Technic Super Battle Droid in the pool for that, and I almost got it, but then it got taken off of me. But man, if I had actually got that, I 100% would have built a mock with those pieces, because there's something so beautiful about that, of finding a new set and just falling in love with the colors and just being like, this is just giving me nostalgia, and it can be so inspiring. That's awesome. Great to see you playing with those colors again.
Oh yeah, and as you mentioned also in that episode, I used a clear stand, which are not in the photos you had used, which I don't blame you, because I shopped them out. But using a clear stand in builds, I think, can be super fun. It's something where like you need to make sure it's built right. Like it can be there for support, but like make sure it's actually supporting the build. Or here's another example. By the way, here's an example of it going wrong. Another a mock I built recently was a revamp of a character I have called Vanity. It's like a big like black bat lady. She's awesome. She can't stand naturally, so she needs to have a stand in order to stand.
Yes.
The original build used a clear Technic lift arm and a tire at the end to help balance her build, and I'm like, no, I want to do it differently. I'm going to build a stand for her. And she literally cannot stand without that stand, no matter what. Like, not only because of just the design of her feet, but also because she's way too big now. So, like, the original like concept I had will not work. So it's like, oh, now she's stuck to this base. Which is, if you want to go with that, that's totally cool. But if you intend on making something posable and does not have feet, that's going to be an issue if you try using a stand. Or build one that's more accommodating. What I wanted to do, it wouldn't work out otherwise. But
interesting way of looking at that. Okay,
that's what I got. Do you have any questions about this build that you're curious about?
You've actually answered all the questions that I'd written down.
Well,
I was like, don't worry, I'm going to prep. I'm going to have all these questions for Brendan. And man, within the first few minutes, you answered all of them. But no, like I love the concept. I know you were saying you something inspired it for you, but you can't quite remember what. But no, I love the concept of all those arms splitting out with the flex tube and then kind of coming together. Yeah, it's just super cool. Do you have future plans for this mock at all? Like ways that you're going to expand it? Are you happy with how it is now? Or?
Oh, I'm totally happy. Like this is probably one of the first builds in a while which is why I chose this one in particular, where I'm like, no, I'm super satisfied with this build. I am like,
awesome.
I'm done with it. I'm good. Like, I feel good about it.
Yeah, no, that's really good. That's good to hear. I love too that you use the Mixel eye, kind of, I assume, like, as the eye on the head there. Because I kind of just forgot that it was a Mixel eye because you've kind of put it sideways to some degree. That's a good way of using a piece in the way it's intended, but still not looking like it's the way it's intended. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was originally just like a white tile stud. And I'm like,
okay.
That looks okay. And then I was looking through my other pieces, and I'm like, I'm going to try this. And I'm like, oh, this looks good. If you're particular, some of the pictures have that piece upside down. Some of the pictures have that picture right side up. Maybe because while I was posing the head, I would turn the little dish that would have the eyepiece on it and didn't realize.
Nice.
One quick thing, because I'm going to poke fun at myself. There is knockoff piece in this in this build. Can you tell what it is?
Oh, dear Lord. Well, not the flex tube inside the wire inside the flex tube. I'm going to say it's something like really obvious, and it's like the Liwa masks on the shoulders.
No, and we literally just talked about it. It's in the head.
Oh, I need to get a better picture of the head. The one I'm looking at now is not good. Is it what's holding up like the dish? I can't quite see what that is though.
You ever hear of a Hero Factory head coming in dark gray?
Oh yeah, look at you.
Look at me.
Well, with the pictures you've taken, I could not tell. So,
and
well done.
No one else has.
Nice. I know. I feel like we're in a day and age now, especially with like molded masks and other places where people are just coloring and painting masks all the time and putting it in stuff. No one really cares anymore. Like, there used to be a time where people would lose their dang mind, but not anymore.
Also in an age with no construction, kind of take what you can get.
It's like people like celebrating when they use those like AliExpress like superposable hands you can put on Bionicles.
Those are good hands. I think you and I talked about those, I think, years ago now at this point. They're good hands.
I had someone on the Discord servers recommend... he sent me a link. I'll see if I can dig it up. But it was specific arms that you can use on a Gundam. They use those for a Bionicle mock they made. And they're like super posable, super strong because it's Gundam and stuff. Apparently the sort of connection on them, I think you might have to do a little bit of modifying to it, or it's perfectly fine and it can fit into a ball joint. But yeah, apparently some Gundam stuff you can kind of mess around with there for hands. Yeah.
That sounds fun.
You're a man who collects a little bit of that, so I don't know if you've ever experimented by shoving a hand into a Bionicle like that, but yeah.
I have not thought to do so. I may have to try.
Yeah, man, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Any other final thoughts on this guy? Because I've kind of covered a lot of him already in the episode, and like I'm loving hearing a lot of your new thoughts and your process on this guy. If you've got any other little tidbits, I'm happy to hear them.
No, she was a fun build. I will say though, because you were an older fan of mine, so you may recognize this. Does the shape of the torso seem familiar to you at all?
Is it Frostbite?
You're thinking of
Bone
Bone
Frostbite.
Chill.
Bone Chill, thank you.
That is
Frostbite.
Bone Chill's old torso that I just
Yes,
reused.
I nailed it.
Nailed it.
Nice.
Boom.
Nice. One of my favorites of yours. That's cool to see.
Nothing wrong with reusing an old design you once used for a new build.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. It's because I spoke about it with Patrick in a podcast once. Like it's just the idea of like, yes, you've already used it before, but can you now, after all this time, or even after like very little time at all, like how can you expand it? And is there more that you can do with playing with this? Are you actually done with exploring all the capabilities of it? You know, it's cool.
Oh yeah.
Nah, but you made a really cool mock here. Really do like this one.
Thank you,
Do
friend.
we want to talk about Lodestar's mock now?
Yeah, sure, if you want to.
Sweet, I am keen to. So this is Lodestar by Lodestar. Am I correct in saying that?
You are correct. This is the self mock of this dude.
Nice. So you are the in real life friend of your DM here. What do you have to say about this guy? Anything you wanted to specifically talk about?
I won't speak for him, but I'll tell you what I know.
Cool.
He basically, when he started coming over to our place, he got like inspired to do more building because he just saw everything, our stuff together. He's like, oh man, got back into it, got a hold of that Bionicle frame like a lot of other people had, and started to just mess around with it, make his own version, and then he brought it over to our place one day. And he's like, man, I like this build, but the legs are super weak. And so he handed it to me. And for the first time in my life, I was able to actually take a build that someone else made. I'm like, oh no, I have to fix this. And so I literally just I'm like, nope, I got to fix these knees. I got to fix these ankles. I got to fill this in, fill that in. and I helped punch up a lot of this mock, and it's very. There's a picture he posted on his Instagram of like him and like two other big dudes that Molly and I made. And just the scale is insane for the big nickel frame. I always forget how tall it is. It's wild.
Now, I'm yet to play with the big nickel frame, and obviously now having with this you have. But have you at all played with the big nickel frame? Is anything like should I be playing with it? Because I feel like at this point I really should.
So like the frame I had built was based off the big nickel frame, but it wasn't the exact thing.
Okay.
He recently just joined. I think you had his stuff featured on Biss before. He recently made an Instagram. It's like at APRPRPRPRPR, some name like that.
Yes. I'm following him now.
Yeah, I had built their variant of the big nickel frame. Just wanted to try it, see if it was cool. I liked it except for the hips, because the hips annoy me all to hell. Just the way they're designed is very flexible. But it's once you start adding armor to it and adding more weight to the legs is when it falls apart for me.
Okay. But that's the other cool thing, like, because I've done an episode purely on big nickel stuff. Like, people are also doing a really good job at, like, slightly modifying it or even more heavily modifying it and stuff, which is also really cool to see.
Oh, yeah. But this build was super cool. It's big, it's chunky. The arms are, like, maybe a little thin, which is partially my fault, because I built the arms. What? Well, actually, no. I built the base, and he worked on top of it. He did a great job on this.
Cool.
But no, it's awesome. It's a great build. I think the mask was made by Socket Ball. I think it's an all.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's an all glow in the dark mask, and then there's a paint job on top of that to fill in the. And then you'll see, and Lodestar has not posted these pictures, but I took them because I did the photo shoot.
Hot exclusive.
Oh, there is some amazing glow-in-the-dark shots of this dude, because if you can't tell the off-color green, that's all glow-in-the-dark pieces. And so I used two very bright lights for taking pictures, and so I figured, like, oh, there'll be a bit of a glow, sure. The light was so bright on those pieces, you could see the light emitting off the silver.
Wow.
It was insane. Some of the pictures I took reflect that, but it's awesome. It's a great use of, like, using glow-in-the-dark pieces. And that's, like, something that Lodestar loves to work with. So it's, like, I'm happy that I was able to show that in the pictures themselves.
Yeah. I tell you what, because that was something I wanted to mention on this, is how effectively the glow-in-the-dark's been used. Like, I've had mocks on Biss before that use glow-in-the-dark stuff, and that's the other thing. It is difficult to photograph, so it's awesome that you did that and did it so well as well, because you're really accenting how awesome it is. But it's the thing of, I've always wanted to design a mock where you look at it as it is, and it's like, that's awesome, and then you turn the lights off and the glow-in-the-dark, like, almost gives it another life or gives it an entirely different presence or something, and so you kind of get two mocks in one. And I think this is a mock that's pretty much like that to some degree. Like, the glow-in-the-dark's so nicely spread throughout, and it almost looks like kind of like tribal markings or something, like body paint or of some kind, and it's giving an entirely different beautiful light to this mock. I guess the pun was slightly intended there. No, it's so cool. It's like, I don't know, like, glow in the dark is something that people do use, but it's not that it's like an afterthought per se from other people, but like, whenever I see it, it's that thing of like, oh yeah, cool, I'll include a picture of the lights turned off. And it's like, oh cool, it glows, like, nice. And it feels like there's a lot of deliberate thought in putting the glow in the dark in this. Like, it's accenting rather than just like a happy coincidence, you know?
Yeah, totally. And also, if anyone's going to ask, none of these pictures are edited. They're cropped, but they're not edited. So, like, that's just naturally how the picture was taken.
That's sick. Because I thought you'd, like, taken the picture... Like, there's one with Mesky and Toa Shadow in front of him, and I thought you'd, like, taken a picture with the lights on, and then a picture with the lights off, and then, like, photoshopped them, like, overlaid them on top of each other, and then, like, brought out the brightness but kept the glow in the dark on. That's cool.
It's fantastic.
That's really cool. Dang. I love to putting the stud shooters on there too, because again, that also helps with that kind of like tribal look. It kind of looks more like I don't know, some funky weird markings and stuff. And I don't know, I always stray away from those stud shooters just because whenever you had them on sets, they just have a tendency to just like kind of, if you move it the wrong way, they all fire and you're like, there's like 12 studs on the floor, where did they go? So I don't know, he's a brave man for using those, because I always find I lose pieces if I use them. Yeah, and it really, really works.
I don't know about the ones on the shoulders, but I can attest the one on the chest is functional.
Oh,
and
cool. Okay.
He picked literally the worst stud in the world to to use that with.
Mm-hmm.
Cause it's like, oh, here's a really rare stud. Oh, great! Now I lost it.
Yeah, exactly that. I also love too all those like Skrull swords and wings and things coming out of the back. Like, there's something so nice about like pointless like back additions. Like, I don't even know what that is. It's not really wings. It's kind of just some sort of like ornate, thing on the back. But it does a lot. It looks nice.
Oh yeah, for sure.
No, it's super cool. I also love the chains as well. Like, just kind of, I don't know. It gives him this sort of more godlike presence, I guess. Maybe not godlike, but it makes him look a bit more menacing and powerful and stuff. It's cool.
It's very edgy, but I think it works. It works very well.
Hey man, edgy is cool.
Edgy. I'm not. Hey, buddy, have you seen my self mock?
This is true. I started watching Sword Art Online again, and man, the main character is just a pure edgelord. It's I need to have a conversation with you at another point about that. All right.
Unless you want to do it now. Do you want to do it here? We can go.
Let's do it. Because I think I've spoken to you about this. Like I've always been someone who's like, anime's cool. Like I'll watch some, but I've like just not committed. But I have a friend who's like super into it, and so like whenever we've finished our D&D sessions and stuff, we'll watch stuff. And now I've watched Toradora, I've watched Food Wars, and we've started now watching Sword Art Online, and then the other day I watched the first episode of Demon Slayer, which was fun.
Oh.
Yeah, so little bits here and there, and I feel like I've watched. Well, Pokemon doesn't count, but I've watched a lot of Pokemon. I feel like there's another one I'm forgetting, but I'm still early days here. We're a little slow with our watching schedules, I guess, especially because I also watched Game of Thrones, and that took ages. So yeah. But there you go.
Anime.
I've watched. What were your thoughts on Sword Art Online? What made you?
I watched the first half of the first season.
Okay.
And I thought it was pretty good. I liked it. And then the second half, where they go into the elf world, made me so angry. Made me very, very, for a very particular reason, it made me very upset. I don't know if you've gotten there.
I watched Sword Art Online like maybe 4 years ago, but I only watched maybe like the first 6 episodes. And now watching it again a bunch of years later, I'm remembering little pockets, but I've forgotten so much. So it's basically like watching it for the first time.
Okay.
So I haven't even finished ever the first season. But I remember as we like put the disc in, my friend and another guy were like, we don't talk about whatever the specific season of it was. Because apparently it's this case of like, first season's good. I don't know what the timeline is, so don't at me. Apparently there's like a couple seasons of it or something where it's just like, we're not doing that one. That one's bad or something. But, I'm speaking on behalf of someone else here. That's not my opinion. I could watch it and be like, oh no, man, I think it was pretty good. So you from what I've heard, you're probably right that it was not as.
It's more so it's what they did to the female lead of that show, and how you're like, oh, we turned her into a really cool character, and now she's just like Princess Peach.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I again, they maybe just be like, Ben, let's save you the hassle. We're just not watching that. But if I do end up watching that, I will let you know my thoughts. But that is a shame. I don't like it when that sort of stuff happens. But yeah, okay. But look, so far I'm enjoying it. So there you go.
But yes, back onto topic. This mock.
Oh yeah.
Yes. This mock Lodestar made is great, and I think it is a nice example of like making a classically looking Bionicle mock, and just like there's cohesion, there's color blocking.
Yes.
Like it looks messy texturally, but that who cares? That's not even a factor. It's a cool looking dude, glows in the dark, cool weapons. Awesomely made mask by Socket Ball.
Yes.
Big shouts out.
Yeah.
I'm going to date this another time. Do you know if he opened up his store yet?
Socket Ball.
Do you know
Let's
the deal
go
with that?
Google it. I don't know. Come to think of it, I haven't heard much from him recently, so maybe he has closed it down.
Because of Bricklink's new policies for them being bought out by Lego, which I probably should have brought that up, he can't sell that stuff there anymore.
Right.
And I think I remember messaging him around Christmas time, just being like, "Hey, I want, Molly and I wanted to pick up some pieces, for the holidays. I know the store must be down because of this. Do you know when you're going to open a new store?" And it's been, a good month now, I guess.
Interesting. No, I'm trying to Google stuff. I can't really find anything, but geez, I hadn't even thought about that. Yeah, I guess not. I don't know. I'm trying to look now, like some of his Instagram posts, it says like 12 weeks ago. So he might have just gone quiet for a little bit, but that's okay, I guess. 3 weeks ago there, but he made a mock. He's not talking about selling stuff. Yeah, I might also have to send him a message and see, because I've never bought from him, but I really want to.
I can't imagine the shipping would be very kind to you.
No, I was, to be honest, like slightly waiting for the inevitable going to Brick Fair, Virginia, and just buying them in person. Yeah, but that's a shame. I hadn't thought of that. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, and actually on that, a really awesome use of, one, the soccer ball mask, but two, just the mask of life in general. Like, I remember, I don't really subscribe to my own personal rule anymore, but I remember I used to say this all the time on mock pages, where I was like, I don't like mocks that use the evokey because it's used all the time, and nowadays I don't really care. Use whatever mask you want.
I remember you saying that.
Yeah. And I used to say I don't like when people use the mask of life, because I thought that it was like such an OP mask, and like, I know there was a lot of lore in Bionicle that like even to pick it up is like it would kill you or something, because it's so like filled with life that it in turn like takes your life or something. Like it would be a hassle to pick it up or something weird. I forget a lot of that lore, but I don't know. I remember just thinking it's just like making your mock too powerful to give it the mask of life, and it doesn't make sense in story and blah blah blah. Again, I do no longer agree with that, but I've always kind of looked at those two masks to some degree in a different light, I guess. And I've seen a lot of mocks that use the mask of life, and it doesn't quite fit the kind of grandiorness of it. That's a word I made up. There's these beautiful markings to it, and it does have this sort of history and ornateness to some degree to it. And I think putting this on this large Titan mock like this, the mask very much fits the rest of the build. Like, the mask doesn't look alien on it at all. I think that's really, really well done, because I guess my new rule with this mask, which I'm not going to say a rule because please break the rules, is that mask is very large and has a presence to it, and it's certainly a challenge to get that to match the rest of the mock, and this has been done very well here. Also,
to emphasize, physically, it is a big mask. It is a very, very large mask to where it's hard to fit this on maybe like a Toa size or like medium build.
Yes, for sure. Yeah. So no, I think there is definitely like an art to picking the right mask for something, and this is excelling at that art, I would say.
Can I ask you something completely off topic?
Of course you can, good sir.
Well, not completely off topic. You're more in the YouTube scene now than I am nowadays. So like you get the metrics, you get more comments, you get more feedback. What would you say what percentage of your audience grew up with only G2 or only grew up with like modern day construction and didn't grow up with any G1 pieces or like these masks, being like, oh, I know this piece, but where did that come from? And like, oh, it came from this set from 2006. It's like, what?
Yeah. It's hard to say. Like, I've spoken to a bunch of people who were just like I think I said, I had that conversation with a kid once who was like, oh yeah, that's like 100 years old, that Bionicle set. I'm like, no. I don't know, a lot of people, like, I've spoken to a bunch of people who've been like, hey Ben, can you put more CCBS stuff in, because I straight up do not own any old Bionicle stuff, I just own CCBS. So in that sense, I would say they've grown up with purely CCBS. But that being said, I've also heard the reverse from people I know are quite young and have said, hey, I own a healthy mix of the two, or have even said the opposite. They're like, yeah, I'm new to it, but like I just inherited a bulk lot of Bionicle parts. I don't really have a lot of CCBS. So really it's quite mixed. And it's even the case of that. Like I've met a whole bunch of people too who are like, hey, like this is my first Bionicle mock. I'm not a teenager. I'm still young, or I'm like a very early teenager or whatever. And I think honestly, a lot of it actually comes down to inheriting Lego rather than like going out and buying stuff. Because I think we now kind of have hit that point where even like in Australia, I'd never see Bionicle stuff on the shelves. Not even like the Star Wars Ultra Build stuff anymore. But America always excelled at having kind of dated sets still available at like Target and stuff, whereas Australia just doesn't do that. And I would say that really there's just the Star Wars Ultra Build stuff on shelves now in America, but I don't know, I haven't been there in a few years. And it's just a lot more difficult to physically go to a store and buy any kind of construction. So I think it is more from, people inheriting stuff. But that being said, people have pretty good knowledge of like parts. I mean, that also being said, people do still but people have always done it of like, oh, what set does that come in? I've never seen that part before and stuff. But I think people are still pretty good at learning a lot of that kind of stuff. I still bump into kids at Brickvention who were like me when I was their age, and it's like, nah, man, I know what every piece comes in every set, and you know, I say that I still know so little about what pieces come in what sets, but like I have decently good knowledge of that now, I guess. But I remember as a kid like priding myself on that, and I think a lot of other kids do that as well, of having a lot of that knowledge. Does that answer your question?
I'd say yeah, that works out.
Yeah, cool.
Did Bionicle come out in 2000?
Yeah, I think so.
Is this the 20-year anniversary?
Dear Lord, you might be right.
Oh,
or was it 2001? I swear, no, because when Bionicle ended was 2010, wasn't it? And wasn't that also kind of the 10th year?
I want to say it was 9 when it ended.
I'm gonna Google this.
It also could have come out different for you than for me.
Yeah, I remember speaking to LJ, and he said that apparently like Australia and a couple other places got it like a little bit earlier. And then I made the joke of like, first. Here, okay, so what Wikipedia says is Bionicle was a line of construction toys marketed primarily towards 8 to 16-year-olds. Originally a subsidiary of Lego's Technic series, the line launched in Europe and Australasia in 2000 and in Americas in 2001. There you go.
Well, look at that.
So technically it is 20 years? Dear Lord.
Wow. That's a whole generation.
That's insane. Jeez. I feel old, man.
Doesn't take much nowadays, my friend.
Yeah, jeez. Well, to get my mind off feeling old, shall we move on to the last mock?
Yeah, let's go.
So this is a mock that is not 20 years old, and it's by Eclipse Caller, and is called Huntress Aquila. I want to say that's how you say it.
I will. You could tell me literally anything, and I'll believe you.
This is called Huntress Brendan. What a coincidence. Oh. Yeah. Oh, it says right here.
Oh, what a good name.
So this was the one I picked. So I guess I'll just share a quick few thoughts on it first, just because this is the one that I picked, and then I would be very keen to hear your thoughts. I just liked this because immediately what grabbed me was the kind of highlights of trans green on it.
Yeah.
It's just kind of very nicely put in there. It's just a like, I'm going to say weird, but it's not weird. Like, it's just a weird addition to it, you know? Like, this mock could have very easily just been silver and tan, but kind of throwing in this green, it gives it this almost like D&D look to it of kind of like magic is flowing through it, or it's kind of being not even corrupted, but maybe it's wearing armor, and that armor is like magically enchanted or something like that. And it's just unique and different, and the way that it transitions as well into the silver and into other areas too is just quite organic and nice, and that really stood out for me.
Yeah, the colors on this build are like kind of crazy. Like, they're not colors I would really put together, but they don't look bad together. Like, even like the little bit of brown at the fingers look pretty solid.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too, is just I love seeing people experimenting with colors. You know, I myself often have rules of like, try to stick to like one or two more colors on a mark, and maybe introduce a third, but then it might start looking too messy, and you got to focus on color blocking and layering and blah. And I love seeing people who break those rules, which I say that, you know, those are rules. You don't have to follow those rules, but you know, I love seeing when people do that, playing with colors in new ways, that it's just like, that shouldn't work, but it does, and it's great. And another thing as well that I thought shouldn't work too is how the mask has that, is it Zesk Vorok's head, and then that's also on the torso. And I kind of go like, oh, but then it looks like it's got two heads, but it really doesn't on this mock. It just like flows nicely. It's cool.
It's very cool. This dude got super popular super quick, I would say. Yeah.
He did.
Not the mock, but like Eclipse Caller. Like I figured. Yeah. No, he's he's good too. And the other thing I love about him is he posts so many like I've never read any of the stories he's posted, and I apologize, but just they're like massive paragraphs, and I'm a busy man. But I get such a sense of the story just from the way he takes the pictures of his mocks. And he even posted a picture of this guy like standing around a campfire with another mock who's like playing a lute. And I'm just like, I'm getting such a like a beautiful atmosphere, and like already seeing the world that this character lives in just from this picture you're posting. And he posts a lot of them, and they're good pictures too, you know. And it's awesome seeing his mocks in a like lived-in world, and like not even having to read anything about it, and just going, no, I get this world. That's cool. For sure. This is just a good build, good silhouette. It's big. Like, if you really look at it, like, this is a fairly large mock.
You're right, actually. I hadn't even... That's the other thing too. I love going to conventions and seeing mocks and being like, I saw this online, but this was massive. Wow. And
Yeah.
you're right. Now that you've said that, I'm like, yeah, actually this like the thighs use Captain Phasma like torso pieces. Those are big parts.
Yeah, or like in the the collarbone using like those weird Avmatorn limbs. It's like the definition of that. It's like, oof.
Yeah. Sheesh. Wow. I also love to, because this mock is sort of centaur-like, just the way that the hooves on this mock look, kind of using those. I don't even know what you'd call some of those pieces, man, but it looks so horse-like, and I would kind of argue building kind of horse hooves is a bit more difficult. I don't know if you agree with me there, but I've tried it before. It's not easy.
I don't think I've tried it.
I mean, regardless, though, he's done a good job of it.
Oh, totally, 1000%. It's.
What were you saying that you've tried?
No, I'm trying to think. Like in the pantheon of builds I've done, I don't think I've done a or at least like a proper centaur. I don't think I've done like straight up like a horse.
Right, yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, But yeah, no, I don't know. I didn't actually have much to say on this mock, but like that doesn't rob it from being a really well done good mock. It's just there's a lot of unique stuff going on this that, like I said, just is breaking rules, but it working so well, and it's a really nice example of experimentation. So more or less, I'm done talking about it, but I still am in awe of it. But if you've got more to say, man, I'd love to hear.
I'm staring at another shot here. Oh, they used the textured was that Grievous on for the lower arm, that big arm?
Oh yes. It might have been the Shore Trooper from Rogue One, I think.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, but still, that's also cool to see. Yeah, a little bit of printing there on the arms. That is nice.
That's
the other thing. Nothing else has printing on it, but then the arms do, and it works.
It works.
Yeah, it is a really nice build. You're right.
Yeah, I think I'm good. Good stuff.
Nice. Good job, Eclipse Caller. Well, that's it for the 3 mocks that we're going to talk about today. Let us now move on to the final segment, which is audience questions. So I put the call out on Instagram, and I'll be completely honest with you, I should have put the call out a little bit earlier, and then I would have put it on Twitter and Facebook and Discord and other places like that. But I still got a good amount of questions, and I got a little bit of a backlog of questions too. But in future, I'll put the call out way before I do the podcast so that everyone gets a turn. But we got 3 audience questions today, and Brendan and I are going to answer them. So the first question we've got today is by Jumbo the Knight YT, and he says, I don't know if you've answered this before, but what's your advice on getting out of a mocking block, or artist block, if you are going to use the other way of saying that? So, Mr. Brendan, man, do you have advice on getting out of an artist block?
I know the advice that you typically give, so I'm going to give some different advice, because I think your advice is also very solid. I mean, I'll go with the same thing I've been saying for years. That's worked for me. It's just like, I try not to think about it, walk away from it, and then like find something, like walk something, play something that's like inspiring to you, and it's like, you're like, no, I want to build that. I want to riff off of that, and then you'll just hopefully come up with something as you go. I think having a concept first and foremost, I think, is a cool idea. Or just straight up sit in front. Like, honestly, like even if you're in the middle of a whip, just put some pieces in front of you and just go, and just see what works, see what comes out of it.
Yeah, for sure. And like kind of riffing off what you said. Like, there's such an element of, and it's the thing, we live in such an age of external gratification and instant gratification with social media. Of you can post something and within seconds you can get 1,000 comments and 1,000 likes and blah blah blah. Often a lot of stuff can be done for other people because of social media. It's, I'm going to put this online and I really hope other people like it, But I often think that a lot of art, a lot of powerful art, I guess, can be born out of doing it for yourself more than for other people. Of course, everyone works differently, and sometimes there's such a motivation in building like a present for someone or building something to honor someone or something like that. But and this is just how I work, but like, there is also this beautiful thing of building for you. So like you said, if you're you're playing a video game and you go, man, I love this character, I want to build literally that character or something inspired by that character. It's so like personalized, it's so for you, and it's something you love and that you're passionate about. So you go, man, I'm going to do that. And sometimes your passion can be killed because someone else comes in and goes, oh, that's awful. And you go, I guess I suck. I guess I shouldn't do that anymore. Like, and you start to focus in on what other people think. But if, sometimes it's best to not listen to those voices and go, no, I'm going to do it for me, and I'm going to build the way I want to build. But of course, don't ignore that advice because it can be like helpful critique and feedback and stuff. And if you want to improve, that is important to listen to and not take personally. But,
Totally.
Yeah. Sorry, I went on a massive tangent there. I didn't want to rob you of your.
No,
your
you're
thoughts there.
fine. My cat is just murdering my feet.
Oh, good. What a surprise! Have your feet done something to it? Like, have you offended it in some way?
I think I put a sock on my foot, and I just invited him to be like, "Oh, that's a big gray thing I'm going to attack."
Well, I mean, you asked for this, man. This is on you.
But do you see what I'm wearing?
Were there other thoughts you wanted to say? I have a little bit more.
Not really. Like
on that, but
I don't. For me, it's really just like walk away from it. Like with most things in life, like if you're stuck on one particular thing, just like take a drive, go take a walk around the block, like just and come back to it, and just be like, okay, I'm going to look at this with a brand new pair of eyes, and
yes,
hopefully that helps.
Yes, yeah, for sure, because something, just getting to like overthinking it, just taking the time off is a great idea for sure.
Totally.
My final thought on this question, this is one thing that a teacher said to me at university, which I really liked, and it's kind of what BIS is based off, honestly. It's the thing of, if you're ever like, I don't know what to do, or you're stuck, it's your brain telling you that it needs more input. And so, like, Google is your homie. Like, go to Google stuff, research things that relate to it in some way, or even things that don't relate to it at all. Go do research. Your brain needs more input. It needs to get inspired, I guess. And that's essentially what BIS is based off. You're like, oh man, I have a mocking block. I don't know how to do these legs on this mock, or I don't even know where to start. And that's like why I make BIS. It's the idea of like, cool, well, you want to build a mecha of some kind, but you're not sure how to start that, or you don't know where to begin. Just start. It doesn't matter how you start, just begin it. And even if it turns out terrible, you might find a way of adapting it more. And do your research. Look up what other people have done. Look up things that aren't Lego, or go for a walk, and maybe something on your walk will inspire you. It comes in different ways. So
Everyone's different.
that's all I have to say on that. Sorry, go ahead. What were you saying?
Just everyone's different in how they
Yes.
they handle their stuff.
And that's always the difficult thing about this question is it's that, the advice I just said might work for Jonathan, but then Billy's like, that didn't help me at all. But, it's the same thing. I was working with a friend of mine on something, and I kind of realized that the different ways that we operate, like just simply, I was helping him fix his resume. And for me, I need to physically, we were trying to like perfect this one paragraph, make it just sound really kind of on brand for them and make it sound really concise and everything. And for them, they needed me to read it to them so that they could process it and hear it in their head and then realize, no, this needs to be changed. But for me, I needed to be physically looking at it and like have it in front of me so that I could see like the image of it. And then that helped me to think and process it. Whereas if I was in his shoes and having to like pace up and down and walk around and have it spoken to them, that wouldn't work for me. I'd be like, I need to physically look at it. I need an image.
Right.
People think and learn differently. It's just the way we operate. So learning a bit more about yourself too is another great way to just get out of a mocking block, because it could be the case that your current process isn't physically working for how you learn and how you work as a human. But yeah, everyone's different.
Yeah.
Nicely answered, good sir. Let's move on to the second question. This is by Cause It's Over, I Have the High Ground, or Cozy, It's Over, I Have the High Ground. It's all one big word, it's hard to say. But his question is, do you think people who make mocks but don't have much are still good? And kind of what I wanted to specifically focus on this was I often have had people who will say like, why did that mock get on BIS? Like, it's awful compared to mine, or like, that one was really cool, but this one was really bad, or whatever. And I've kind of reached this stage where I can look at what some people would classify as a bad mock, and I can still learn so much from it. And that's why I love putting mocks of all different skill sets on BIS, because there's so much you can learn from a poorly built mock, if that's the wording you want to use. Because sometimes it can be, experimenting with colors in an interesting way, or just the visual composition of it is very different, or just something that they're doing, a little slight technique or a concept is really imaginative and clever. And you could look at the mock and dismiss it and, it's not very well built, and then miss the highlights and miss the really interesting stuff you can learn from. And so to me, to answer that question, sorry to hog the spotlight here, but to me, I don't care if you feel like you're not good or whatever, that doesn't mean that you're still not a good builder. Build stuff anyway, you know. Learn and grow. Even, you know, sometimes you have to build terrible stuff to then make good stuff. And I don't want to judge you wherever you are on your journey with building. So, by all means, make cool stuff, man. And even if you don't have many pieces, but you still build something cool, you still build something at all, and good job, you know. But sorry, that's my answer. I didn't mean to hog the spotlight there. What do you think, good sir?
Sorry, I dozed off. You took so long. I couldn't.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
It's totally subjectivity. Like I think it's a matter of like I would see like builds that you could say quote unquote are not as good as other builds in this episodes, and it's just like, well, it's either like that person's working with what they have, they're working with what they know. Like they could be a newer Marcus, they're still working stuff out. Like that's totally cool. I think in terms of like, is it a bad mock? Is it a good mock? You can have anyone critique it, and you have X, Y, and Z. I think when it comes to you personally, it matters of like you build it and you walk away from it. Like you asked me with Betty earlier. It's like, oh, do you want to change anything about this mock? And I'm like, actually, no. I super love it. Like that to me, that this is a good mock because I feel proud about it.
Yes.
And if you walk away from something and you built it and you're like, oh well, I could stand to change X, Y, and Z. Like I like it, but like it could be better. Like it doesn't make it bad, but like I don't know. I feel like you don't need actually to directly answer the question. I guess no, you don't need a lot something good, but whether or not it's good is, I guess, up to you. Like
precisely,
you can make a lot of cool stuff with very little pieces.
Yes, and it's that, you know, like I even view it in the real world. It's that thing of like current trends or like a topical meme or whatever, and people being like, oh, that's out of date, like that's so old and dumb. But if you're still having fun from it, man, why should that then stop you doing it?
Totally.
Because society deems that, oh, that's over. Well, I still want to have fun with it. It's the same thing with Lego, man. Like people being like, oh, you stopped playing with Lego when you're like 12 or something dumb. It's like, no, man, I'm still having a lot of fun playing with it, and I'm almost 25, you know? Yeah, you know, like it's at the end of the day, it is what you think. You know, it's the same thing. Like I've had this conversation before. I even almost made a video relating to it to some degree where myself mock Cossy. I love him. I think he's great. Is he outdated technique-wise? Could he do with an update? Of course. Does it, you know, are there techniques and things on it that aren't as good by like modern standards? Of course. But it represents a lot about where I was as a person and the challenges I overcame, and I built Cossy around that time, and I learned a lot from it as a person and as a builder. And it is just this case of like, I just really like him and have no desire to redo him. And you know, some people have been like, hey, you really should redo Cossy because it's not that good. And I'm like, well, that's not what I think. I enjoy it. And please argue with me if you disagree. But as a person, I've found that whenever I do fall in with other people's plans or, you know, give over to, I'm trying to find the right wording here, like not listen to my own inner impulses and stuff. That's when you end up a bit more sad, man. You know, of course, don't, you know, ignore people and shut yourself off and stuff because that's never healthy. But like it's about what you think at the end of the day, and that's beautiful, in-depth meditation and deep thoughts with Ben and Bryn.
I like that a lot. I like that whole like you don't want to work on Cossy because he's a representation of where you were at that time. I like that a lot. That's cool.
Yeah, thank you. Nothing else you want to say on that one?
Like just build with what you got and just take pride in it, or just keep working on it until you're proud of it. And doesn't matter. Precisely. Hey man, like this sounded smart in my head, and I don't know if it's going to, but I'm going to say it out loud anyway. You can make a smiley face with just 2 dots and a line. Don't take much to make something good.
But it still made someone smile.
I hate it. We gotta move on. That's really bad.
It's mushy and probably cringy, I guess. I don't care, but I liked it. We can take it. We'll take it. We'll take it and run with it. I like it. On to the next question, and the final question for that matter. This is by Alpha Gendry or Alpha Legend. Blah, blah, blah. It's by Mr. Alpha Gendry 14, something like that. And his question was just simply system or Bionicle. And we briefly spoke about this question before the episode began because we were like, what does that mean? And I kind of wanted to focus on this question more in terms of we live in a world where construction as a Lego theme doesn't exist anymore, but a lot of Bionicle mocks seem to be focusing very heavily on system these days. And just it's that. How do you feel as a builder these days in terms of the kind of balance between CCBS and construction versus system stuff? Do you prefer one of the types of building more? All that sort of stuff.
I'm very conflicted. So you are 1,000% right when you say like, oh, construction is more or less dead in the eyes of Lego for the time being, and we're just working with what we have, and a lot more of Bionicle-esque builds are more system. The part when you call it Bionicle is what turns me off, because Bionicle to me is the aesthetic, it's the style, it's the types of pieces used, it's not the theming. The theming is definitely a big part of it, but I feel like it's more so the aesthetic look of like you look at it and you're like, oh, that's a Bionicle. And I feel like that is a failure. I don't know on whom, but it's more so like that. You should make this is a character. I guess more so CCBS build, but that implies it's that particular style.
Yeah,
like it's a character themed build. Where like, oh, well, this looks like a character. Like a lot of stuff like what the Joxon makes, and like a lot of what like Jafa make. Like they all make some really cool characters that may not have a backstory per se, but they have makes it look like they do. Like this looks like a character, but it's mostly made out of system. Or mostly made out of like a mixture of a lot of different things. Like a lot of like of what Dylan Meaves did back in the day. Like kind of like ahead of his time. It's like, hey, we're combining everything together, and it's like that's cool. I like it. Just don't. A Bionicle to me is like this looks like okay, that Lodestar mock I showed, that is a Bionicle straight up, like that.
Yes.
For sure.
Yes.
And I feel like call it what you want. It still technically is correct. That's me being a jaded old man. I'm sorry.
No, I get what you mean though. Because like being at Brickvention, Anthony brought his Aquasaurus.
Oh, it's amazing.
Beautiful, like teal, dark blue, white. It's like, I'm not even joking. Probably my favorite Lego creation I've ever seen. And I've mentioned this before. Like speaking to people at Brickvention and going to a table that has some Bionicle on it and being like, "Hey, Bionicle, what do you think about this?" And they're like, "I just don't understand Bionicle. Like I build system. I just don't get these pieces. It's just not in my palette and my way of thinking." But then you see something like that Aquasaurus, and because Anthony built it, I would, like, in my head, classify that as a Bionicle. But someone else looking at it from a system point of view was like, oh, this is amazing. Like, wow, look how organic and beautiful it is. But the minute you put that Bionicle label on it, it can shut some builders off, because people do, unfortunately, have that stigma who don't really follow Bionicle. They're kind of just like, it's just a weird thing. I can't do anything with it. So I do 100% get what you mean in that sense. Yeah. Sorry to interrupt you. I think you had more to say there.
But no, I'm with you. Like, I feel like that's an amazing mock, but it's like you put a Bionicle tag on that, and one, it's like, oh, that turns people off, but also like, okay, where's the Bionicle in this? Like, what's the ratio of like what pieces did you use, whatever.
Yeah.
As a general topic, though, I think mixing everything together is fine. Like, I think as it depends. But then that also, what do you label it then? It's just, I don't know. It's a build. I built this. Look at this. Is what it is.
Sure.
I think it's more so a challenge of mixing together pieces texturally. Like CCBS blends with system like perfectly, more or less, and that works very well.
Yeah.
Mixing Bionicle in there, like it's a bit like traditional G1 Bionicle pieces. Like it gets a little bit more tough. You can have fun with it. It's cool. I think mixing stuff is good. I used to kind of be against it, and then I started mixing around with it and had fun with it. And now I just kind of mindlessly use whatever. Just to be like, well, this works with this, so I'll just use this piece and I'll work around it. And I think that's what counts. End of the day.
Yeah. At one point, you sort of said you as you started mixing the two together, you had fun with it, and I think it's kind of similar to what we were saying before. It really is just down to what you're enjoying and what you are having fun with. And so, if you want to combine the two, by all means, or if you're like, no, I just want to do a purely system-based mock now, then by all means, And yeah, I think that's a good way of looking at it. Yeah.
For sure. I'd say you personally are definitely more of a system builder by trade.
Yeah, like I kind of, in response to the specific question that was said of like system or Bionicle, for me, it really does depend on my mood. Like I finished what I built for Brickvention, and that took me like 2 months. And as I finished, I was like, I want to build a Bionicle now. And so I built 2 Bionicles after that. Now I'm back in a system mood, and I'm like, no, I want to build Jabba's Palace now, which is what I'm building next. And it very much depends on my mood, but it is just the case of a lot of the time I just prefer building with system. It doesn't mean I hate Bionicle, doesn't mean I don't like it or I don't build with it. It's just, no, right now I don't want to, and so I listen to that and I go with that because it's my bliss, and Yeah, but like, and it's even that. I don't like picking between the two of just like, oh, well, if you have to pick one, do you like System or Bionicle more? It's like, I like both an equal amount, you know, and yes, I may not reflect that with the amount of whatever that I build of whatever, but yeah, you know, I'm enjoying what I've built and I'll continue to do so. And it could even be the case of like, hey, maybe 2020 is the year of Bionicle for Ben Cossy and he builds like 80 of them and barely builds any system. It just depends on what I'm in the mood to do.
Well, let me ask you this. As someone who's done this, how long have you been doing this now?
I think I started the channel like 5 years ago, but I've like been properly doing it, I think, for 2 years now.
All the years you've done this, and I know you've definitely had made some mocks, some Bionicle mocks because of the show and in like the things you've researched and stuff. Do you feel like all the years of you doing this, do you feel like it has like properly inspired you to make more Bionicle mocks, or is it just like you're doing you're focusing on this particular building style because of the show?
Both. I would say like there are definite mocks that I've made that have just been a direct, like I've done an episode and as I've finished it or while I'm recording it, I'm like, this mock is cool. I want to build something that's riffing off of it, or look at that technique, I really want to do that. Or I mean, even that, like we were just saying before, of like I've seen so many mocks that use Bionicle frames, and man, I really want to play with one and do one. But it has also just been the general case of just as I've been doing stuff, it's just kept that flame alive, and it has just been kind of the way my process works of just seeing a lot of images and letting that inform things in my head. And it's like an argument I said to someone the other day where it's like critics could go, oh, this movie was awful, don't watch it. But I go watch it anyway because I go, no, I want to watch it. I don't care what critics are saying. I have interest in this. I'll watch it. And I watch it, and in my eyes, I enjoyed the movie. Or I go, oh, no, okay, I see where they're coming from. It wasn't that enjoyable. But I don't walk away going, well, I guess I wasted my time. I walk away going, every little bit of information you take in the world in some way can inspire you or inform something. And later down the line, you'll make something, and in some little way, that movie you watched probably did inform that. It may not be a physical case of like, oh, I watched like Venom and I based this mock off of a symbiote. Like, it could even just be like little tonal aspects or just a little subtle thing in there did inform it, and you may not physically be able to pinpoint exactly what that was. But had you not watched Venom or whatever movie, just picked Venom at random, probably the art that you made would have been slightly different, because everything does feed into other stuff, you know. Did that answer what you said?
Yeah, no, it works out. Basically, I guess I was asking was
Nice.
like, have you been inspired by your own show?
For sure, yes.
Nice. Sorry, I hijacked your own show for a moment.
Do it. I love it. I love a good hijack. It's good. Anything else you want to say on that question? Because I think I'm all good with that.
No,
one.
I feel like a lot of my feelings on it are very, if not scattered, then just like general. Like I feel like just build
That's
with
okay.
what you feel like is what's best for you. Build with what you have, and just do what makes you feel good, man.
Yeah, for sure. Sick.
Sick.
Well, that's all we've got for today. Mr. Brendan, sir.
Hi.
You've been a pleasure to have on the show.
Don't lie to me in front of my face. If you're gonna lie to me, you have to listen. Look me in the eyes.
This is the God's truth.
Look me in the eyes in this webcam.
I'm looking into my microphone, which is the metaphorical eyes of Brendan.
Am I fuzzy?
You're beautiful.
Oh.
But it has been a pleasure having you on, good sir.
Yes, thank you for having me.
If people want to find you on the social media, where can they find you? Is there anything you want to specifically plug?
Go to these coordinates and dig up this time capsule, and then on this date, and then you open it up, and it's just a party hat. You put on the party hat, and then all the information is given to you.
Sweet.
You can find me at Shadowgear6335 on the internet with most social media. I don't use YouTube as often anymore. I'm going to say my video making is on a definite hiatus unless something comes up. But I will say I am most active on Instagram, and I also have a Twitter. And once I clean up my Flickr with 1,000+ photos, I'm going to start using my Flickr a little bit more too.
Nice.
So Instagram, Flickr, Twitter, all under Shadowgear6335.
Sweet. There'll also be links in the description to all of Brendan's social media, as well as my social media and like the Discord server, all that stuff. That's all there. If you want to share your thoughts on this episode of the podcast, head over to Discord or Facebook or any of the social medias and send a message to either of us and let us know your thoughts.
Can I send a tiny message real quick?
Yeah,
a little personal message, because I know a lot of people were like, "Where are the videos?" And just like, "What are you doing? You've been gone for like 2 years." I will say this, and I will speak for myself and partially for Molly. I won't speak for her fully, but I will say thank you to everyone who's like welcomed us back after so long of just being totally inactive and being very jaded and bitter about the community and us wanting to give it a second chance and just saying like F it, let's go and just have fun. So thank you to everyone, and thank you for being patient. I personally can't promise you a consistent line of making mocks. It's going to be me posting whenever I want to post. But I'm going to say thank you. You guys are awesome. And I appreciate people like Ben who have instilled a positive force in this community just to give everyone a good home. And hey, if you want a good place to go to, you can join the BIS Discord server, right?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yes. Yeah, you can. Yeah. There's a link in the comments. Description thing. That one. Yeah. Brendan's a mod.
I'm a horrible mod, but I'm a mod nonetheless. That is a fact.
Nah, you're a good mod. Yeah.
Nah, I do nothing.
It's fine. But no, thank you. I mean, thank you for your kind words about me, and thank you for those kind words in general as well. No, I actually messaged Molly when I was at Brickvention, and I just sent her a message. I'm like, man, it is a pleasure seeing you being so active again. And yeah, it's been good having you guys back.
Yeah. Been nice.
Sweet. Yeah, nice. But that's it. Hope you enjoyed this podcast, and thanks again, Brendan. We'll see you in the next one.
Also, I still wipe standing up. just in case people were wanting to know.
Yeah. It hasn't changed. Neither has mine.
Hasn't
and
changed.
I refuse to try the opposite.